everybody, welcome back to Culinary Fitness. This is Chef Dennis Berry here, and today we are going to make some awesome lamb shanks. So if you're watching this video, you probably already like lamb, so I don't have to talk you into it. But let's talk about the lamb shank real quick, right? There's the foreshank, which is the front legs, and the hind shank, which is the rear where the leg is, right? The top part being the leg of lamb, and the bottom part underneath that would be the shank, right? That's the hind shank. And then the front legs, the lower part would be called the foreshank, right? Foreshank, hind shank. And so we're gonna make these awesome lamb shanks. The lamb shanks are very tough, right? The meat, you can't just like throw it on the grill like a steak because the meat is really tough and it has a lot of connective tissue. But when you take the time and braise it like we're going to do today, we make braised lamb shanks, the meat just becomes really tender, it's really succulent, really delicious, and just unbelievable, okay? So it takes a couple hours to do, and so let's just get started, right? So I have these shanks right here, and all we're gonna do, I have my pan on, it's on about a medium-high heat right now, okay? So I'm just gonna add some oil to this pan, and we're gonna sear these guys. So I can't, you know, I've talked about it in other videos, I can't stress the importance of searing enough when you're making items like this. When you're braising, right? Braising is a two-part cooking method, right? So first you have the dry cooking method, and then you have a wet cooking method, right? So we're gonna sear these up top over the stove, and then we're gonna add some liquid, and we're gonna cook them in the oven for a long period of time. And that's when the connective tissue breaks down, and you're left with this awesomeness. Okay, cool. So it's important to braise so that way you get a really flavorful meat, right? The meat gets real caramelized and delicious, okay? So we're gonna season this. This is a pretty big piece of meat, so we wanted to give it a lot of seasoning. Don't freak out because it looks like a lot of salt, okay? It's really not that bad. So I'm gonna turn that over. Let's get these seared on both sides, right? You're gonna eat both sides, right? So you have to sear and season both sides. And we're gonna get them right into the pan. So these are gonna shrink quite a bit, right? And this is gonna take about, about 8 minutes or so to sear properly. You wanna have them seared on all sides, so that way you have flavor on all sides. And it adds this richness to the dish at the end. This is when it's really gonna pay off at the end, okay? All right, cool. So while those are searing, what we wanna do is we wanna cut up our vegetables or our mirepoix, right? This is what's gonna really flavor the dish real nicely. So we want some diced carrots. So we'll just dice up these carrots. You want them to be somewhat small. Doesn't have to be like perfect, but you want it to be diced. And it doesn't have to be like a brunoise, which is a really small cut. You know, just a regular dice is fine. At the end, we're gonna puree this sauce so it's really nice and velvety. So we're also gonna dice up some onion and some celery. All right, let's take a look before we cut our celery on how the shanks are. And let's give them a flip. See that rich golden color? That golden brown color. That's what we're looking for, right? You really want to take your time, let this do its thing because it's really gonna pay off. All right, so now we have some celery. So the other ingredients we have some garlic here, and we're gonna have to mash that up. I'll do that real quick. And this just needs to be mashed, right? It doesn't have to be really diced up at all. This is gonna cook and flavor the sauce, and then like I said at the end, we're gonna puree it so it won't really matter. Cool. We also have some crushed red peppers, and we have some granulated garlic, some dried and fresh rosemary. I have a little fresh rosemary sprig, and I like the stem in there. It's gonna give a nice earthy flavor to these lamb shanks while they're cooking. But we're gonna use the dried rosemary because over time, if you were to put just fresh rosemary into the dish, a lot of the flavor would go away, right? So use dry over long periods of time. Use dry herbs and spices. So I also have some dried thyme here. Awesome. So let's take another look here. All right, guys, cool. So we let these shanks braise. We let them sear, right? So now I'm gonna remove these from the pan, and we're gonna use that oil to cook the rest of our ingredients here. So let's get our onions into the pan. And carrots. A little bit of celery. And we're just gonna saute these for a few minutes until they get like translucent. Let's season it. A little black pepper. And some more salt. Oh, it smells so nice. So this is our Mirepoix, right? So Mirepoix, M-I-R-E-P-O-I-X. Mirepoix, that's the aromatic vegetables that flavor your stock or your liquid or your sauce or your gravy, whatever you're trying to flavor. This is what does that, right? So this is really delicious, okay? So we have that in there. Now we're gonna add our garlic. Saute that a little bit. Let's get so we have our dried rosemary, like a tablespoon, and our fresh rosemary sprig. Our granulated garlic. I like granulated. I'm not a big fan of the garlic powder, although it does have its applications. I like granulated garlic most of the time. I have some dried thyme here. And I have some crushed red pepper. That's gonna give it a little heat, right? We want a little spice. You guys like spice? And I have a bay leaf, okay? That's gonna be delicious. You can put a couple different bay leaves in if you want. Just remember how many you put in, so when you go to take them out, you remember, right? So if you put 3 bay leaves in, remember to take that out, because otherwise you'll be eating bay leaf and it's not very tasty, okay? So, oh my God. If you could smell this, you wouldn't believe it. All right, cool. So now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna add about 1 cup of beef stock, okay? If you have good beef stock, that's awesome. It's gonna give an incredible flavor to the dish. If you don't, and all you have is water, that's fine, okay? Don't stress out about it. And now we're gonna add some, oops, I meant to add red wine. So we're gonna add about a cup of red wine, right? And this is gonna make it really rich, really flavorful, really delicious. So let's give this a quick stir. Nice, look at that. Okay, now what we're gonna do is we're just gonna add these guys right back in here. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Look at that, okay? Now we're gonna cover this. Right, shut the heat off. Now we're gonna cover this. And it's gonna go into the oven at 350 degrees for 2 hours. Let's get that in here. Cool, so that's gonna go in there for 2 hours. And then after 2 hours, we're gonna take the foil off. We're gonna let it cook for another 20 minutes and let that sauce simmer and thicken up a little bit. And then we're gonna come back and I'll puree the sauce, finish the dish up, and I'll see you in a little bit. All right, guys, cool, we're back. So it's been about an hour now, and we're doing these lamb shanks here, and they're delicious, okay? So what we wanna do is, it's been about an hour, we wanna flip them so we have the part that's been cooking in the liquid, we wanna flip it and have that cook up top, and then the top part is gonna be cooking in the liquid, okay? So we're braising here today, guys. So let's get these lamb shanks out. And this is kind of funny because while you guys didn't see, I had to switch pans because I needed the other one. But anyway, it's not gonna affect you guys. So look at this, aren't these beautiful? So it's been an hour. Now we need to flip, so the bottom part is gonna cook inside the liquid, or on top, and the top part's gonna cook inside the liquid. That's all, see how easy that was? Now we're gonna just get the lid back on and get these guys right back in the oven for another hour, okay? And then after an hour, we're gonna take that lid off. We're gonna let it cook and let the sauce kind of reduce a little bit for about another 20 to 30 minutes, and then we're gonna puree that sauce, and it's gonna be unbelievable, all right? Hope you guys are excited. I'll see you in a little bit. All right, everybody, we're back. Hey, it's been a long few hours because the smell in here with the rosemary and the lamb, unbelievable, okay? Cool, I'm so excited. You ready? So what we did was, like I said, after an hour, we kind of turned these lamb shanks over and let the top part cook in the liquid and then the bottom part up on the dry part, right? And then for the last about 15 minutes, 20 minutes or so, I took the top off, right? And I let the liquid kind of reduce a little bit. That's gonna make our nice sauce, right? So let's get these guys out. Let me show you what they look like. Wow, look at that. Can you see that? Look how this just falls apart, right? Unbelievable. Excellent. So here's what we're gonna do. So I am just gonna pull these guys out and look at how beautiful and juicy those things look. Really, really beautiful. You see that? Unbelievable. Okay, so now we have this sauce here. Whoa, and you gotta be careful when you take a pan out of the oven. It's really hot, especially when it's been in for like 2.5 hours, okay? Excellent. So here's what I do. I have a strainer here and a pot. So you can puree this if you want, but I don't think it's necessary. So here's that bay leaf that I was talking about. I just took that out. So I'm just gonna get this in through this strainer because the vegetables are already so soft and mushy that they're gonna pass right through the sieve, okay? So I got these in here and I'm just gonna mush these right in here. And then we're just gonna mix this sauce together. Look at that. Can you see that? Beautiful natural brown thickened sauce. That's some beautiful stuff. So let's get this guy plated. So I made some roasted potatoes here with some fresh herbs and some scallions. I have a whole separate video on just how to make these potatoes because I use them a lot. They're really simple, delicious, and just like outstanding, especially with a dish like this, okay? So I just roasted these potatoes, a real rich buttery texture, these small little potatoes, the golden yellow ones. And then I have some fresh parsley, some fresh scallions, olive oil, salt, pepper, okay? Let's get those onto the plate. I'm just gonna put some of these here right in the middle. Nice, nice, nice. And you can serve this on a platter, especially if you made more than just 2 shanks. But for us, we just made these right here. So I'm just gonna stick that one right up top like that. Look at that. I have this sprig of rosemary here. And then I also have some parsley. I'm just gonna stick right on the side here. You can also serve this maybe with some asparagus or maybe some zucchini or green beans. Look at this. This is just a classic, beautiful dish, right? Unbelievable. I used to work for this guy, this Italian guy in Vermont. And he always said, his name is Tony DeVita. He always said, unbelievable, unbelievable. That's what I'm saying, unbelievable. Look at this. Is that scrumptious or what? Lamb shank, braised lamb shank with rosemary and garlic with some roasted potatoes with fresh herbs. Beautiful stuff, guys. If you have any questions, let me know. Have a wonderful day today.